Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. And today I have a special guest, Tasha Chen, and we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is money. But we're going to be talking about it from a little bit different perspective than what I've covered before. So let me just tell you a little bit about Tasha. She is an expert in taking businesses from struggling and on the verge of giving up to opening their can of dreams of again having fun and making money. That sounds like something I need. Her wildly impactful manifestation and mindset trainings and coaching have helped entrepreneurs around the globe generate an additional $47.5 million in revenue in their businesses in the past 6 years. She has a knack for seeing the big picture for others and also helps them see their own power. Her inspirational talks cover the magic of manifesting, mindset, and developing personal superpowers, sales from the heart, and calling in abundance. Welcome to the show, Tasha.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you and I off screen have talked about the influence of trauma on money, and we're going to be talking more about that in your symposium coming up at the end of the month. So don't let me forget to let everybody know how to access that. But one of the things that really intrigued me about wanting to have you on the show is the distinction you make between being deserving or being worthy. And how does that influence our ability to make money or attract money or any of those things?
I grew up, and I'd be the first to raise my hand to say, oh, I have worthiness issues. I have a worthiness wound. And I think many of us will self-identify with the idea of worthiness problems or concerns, or just feeling like we're not hitting it. But when it comes to deservingness, everyone will say, oh, yeah, I deserve.
I deserve to be a millionaire.
Absolutely, I deserve to be a millionaire. And as I shared with you, for me, my recognition of the distinction was very intriguing. I teach people how to create money and abundance, and I've shown people how to do that to the tune of a lot of money. But I observed this I'm kind of like a scientist, and I observed that everybody gets the information. Some run with it and they get the results really quickly, and others don't. And I mean, everybody ends up in Rome, if you know what I mean. All roads lead to Rome. It's just some get there before the others. And I was really intrigued about why. What was it that was getting some to get it and hang on and run with it so quickly, manifest a lot of money, and others not? So I'm observing my people and trying to get it and not. And then this interesting thing happened in my personal life. I've been in a 3-year relationship, and I would be the first to tell you, I deserve the most amazing man on the planet because I'm an amazing woman. So I deserve that. And then I found myself running away from this guy, like fleeing for my life.
Wow.
Fleeing in fear, like to the tune of running away to another country overnight. Yeah. So I finally land, and I'm like taking a breath, feeling safe for a moment. I go out for a walk, and I just stand there and, like probably anybody else would do. I was like, God, what is the deal? How am I having to run away from a man? How is this my life? And in my own way, I heard the voice of God say, Tasha, because you don't believe you deserve more than this. And in that moment, I mean, to be quite honest, I wanted to debate it with God. Like, no. I know I might not be worthy. I know I might not be worthy of it, because I know I have worthiness issues, but I deserve it. For sure, I deserve it. But, I had the common sense to not do that and really just sit back and go, well, deserve. And God saying to me, you don't believe you deserve much more than this. And it was an answer not only for me with relationships, but also to the the quest I had been on about why some of my clients were getting it and running and some weren't. Some didn't believe they deserved it.
Well, for the listeners though, what's the distinction?
Yeah, so I want to paint like a neutral picture to take us into understanding, right? So when you say you're worthy of something, by definition, to say I am worth this or that means you are determinant of value for yourself that someone else needs to agree with,
Okay.
right? So worthiness inherently includes external validation.
Okay.
Deservingness just is. It's your birthright. There's no proving. There's no need to validate externally. You decide what you deserve. You show up in life with that deservingness of it, and life rewards you with what you believe you deserve.
Yeah, and I've seen this issue come up in my clients as well, in particular, patients who've had trauma in their background. So if they've had a history of trauma, often they have an unconscious core belief that's running their lives, which is I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, all of those kinds of things. And that, and they often say to me, well, where does that come from? Like, how did that, I feel like I feel like I'm, deserving, but you know, what I'm doing is not proving that, it's not
Right.
showing that. So
Right.
I think the trauma, especially if it happens in childhood, it kind of instills this secret message that you're running. It's like a tape that you're running in the background, and
Yeah.
people don't even notice it. It's just, that little bit of noise in the background, but it has a powerful effect on your ability to really achieve your potential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I've seen that in my own life too, when I've maybe been up for a big job that somehow it just doesn't work out,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing everything I should be doing, but it doesn't work out. And there's that sense, a little bit of a sense of anxiety that comes up when a new opportunity comes, because it's like, well, wait a minute, is this going to end up like the other one? Am I sabotaging myself? What's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from Oprah is, "You get what you believe, not what you wish for."
Yeah.
And for me, that really hits home with, you get what you believe you deserve. And the trick with deservingness is that we don't know we don't deserve it. We actually think we believe we deserve it, right? So I mean, talk about a real need to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you work with clients who want to create more money in their businesses or in their lives, um, you say that some of them run with it and they get to Rome sooner, and others years later, hopefully, will eventually get to Rome.
There. Yeah.
So, but how do you work with them to identify and change this feeling of not deserving?
Well, one of the things that you and I connected on, and I'll just affectionately call you Dr. Carolyn. One of the things that we connected on is the trauma piece, and identifying that if you've had a traumatic experience with money, which just a lot of people just don't naturally think of. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say 99%, because trauma is any experience that leaves you feeling less than good,
Yeah.
right?
I love Gabor Mate's definition that trauma is a loss but essential part of ourselves, a sense of safety, security, trust, vitality, etc. And that's exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely. And with money, I mean, I don't see how you can get to adulthood without having had some traumatic experience around money.
Unless you're very, very wealthy, though.
And even those, I have some of those clients, and you know what? They still struggle with it. They struggle with, I have all this money, but do I really deserve it?
Oh, okay.
You
That's
know? Yeah.
so,
So it's looking at the trauma, and one of the things that I have is a list of 13 money traumas.
yeah.
I want to go ahead.
Yeah, tell us about a few of those money traumas.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share three, and I'm gonna use probably the most common one. And it's, have you ever had an experience, and this is especially relevant during childhood, where you had a painful memory associated with money? And for many of us, in our age range, we grew up seeing our parents fight in front of us over money.
Money, yeah.
Yeah, right. And here we are with the people we love the most in the world, and they're unhappy with each other, and they're being unkind, and all that comes along with that. And we have a little thing in our brain that goes, oh, that money thing causes pain, you know? Yeah, no, thank you. No, thank you to that. So that's a very, very common one. For many women in particular, this is another one I see, especially those of us who are in that lovely mid-age phase. And we look back and we go, oh my gosh, I made a terrible mistake once in my life with money. And I've either never gotten over it, never forgiven myself, just felt like a complete, just felt like I failed really with money. And that creates trauma.
Yeah. You're bringing up a lot of personal experiences here.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I told you when we first talked that I discovered a scrapbook that my grandmother had me make. I probably was in the office and I didn't have anything to do. And she said, go make the scrapbook. And one of the pages was covered with money. And it said at the top, money is the root of all evil. And I thought, so I was 9 years old. That's the message I already had. And then the other thing was growing up, I was the oldest of five, and my dad worked like three jobs to support us. And I remember bill collectors calling the house. And they would just unload on you, even if you were, a kid.
A child. Yeah.
Even if you were a child, they'd start, you need to tell your father that da da da.
Oh.
You're gonna come and pick up da 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 da. If you don't do this, da da da. On and on. So a lot of fear, around money. And I'm sure
absolutely
one who's experienced that.
And the trauma that gets created, and the dichotomy is, you have this one, on one hand, you have all the desires that we inherently have as human beings for abundance and for easy life and for wonderful experiences, which require money. But then over here, you have the trauma going, don't go near that. Yeah. Pain, and just I'll share another one so people listening can get an idea and start to really think about this. And this is very personal for me. I had this happen. This was definitely a wound for me because it showed up twice. So once was, as a child, my mom had me very young and had to go to work. So I didn't live with my mom till I was 10 again. And it created this thing where, as a child, I understood that she had to go to work. And I understood because I got told enough, how hard I work for you, So I understood that the working thing was about money to provide for me, but I didn't have her love. And so I created this, it's love or money. It's love or money.
Okay, yeah. So you can't have both in that scenario.
Yeah, and you're traumatized because you're like, well, I'm always going to want to choose love. And so what does that mean for me with money?
Survive.
Yeah. And then for those of us who've been through a divorce, heaven knows, right? One of the number two reasons why we get divorced is money. And here's this person you promised to love forever, and now you're fighting over money. And they're telling you how awful you are for wanting their money. So it's like, gosh, there goes the love because of this money again. It's just there, and there's so many ways that it shows up and it creates trauma.
So the work that you do is around changing mindset, is what it says in your bio. So, and in some ways that's the same kind of work that I do, because I'm working on changing the diet mentality and changing mindset about your body and your relationship with food. But are you able to heal those trauma wounds?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For me, the process, and I'm sure like you with food, I wish I could go, here you go, it's done.
Yeah.
I really do wish I could. It is a journey and we have a process. What I will say to simplify it is really, yes, it takes the doing, but it's really simple, as is most things in life. One is to become aware that you've had a traumatic experience, which is the conversation that we're having, and you go, okay, now I get it. No wonder it's been so difficult. So you're aware, the light switches on in the room. And then number two is to do the work of healing and releasing. And for me, if I could simplify this, because we take you through a journey, but for me, it's like, okay, I'm aware and I accept that I've had money trauma. And now I go on the journey of healing, forgiving, releasing, and almost giving myself the chance to have a clean slate. And the fact that we can have that at any age, at any moment, the miracle of any moment we can create change, means that somewhere along that journey, we get to let go of the trauma, see it for what it is, let it go, heal it, and start writing a new story from a blank slate.
Hmm. It sounds beautiful, but those traumas don't just happen in childhood. Often they happen even as adults.
Yeah.
I can think for myself of getting a big job with a massive increase in salary, according to, my mindset. Wow, I'm really going to be making lots of money now. And then losing the job like, 8 months later. And
Yeah.
that was really traumatic, probably more
Yeah.
traumatic than any of the others. So it's not just in childhood, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, hey, I'll be vulnerable and transparent with you in saying I believe we're now 3 months ago. I don't like to use the word lost, so I'll just say I created the space, created the space to receive more. But I was in a situation where overnight $150,000 was gone.
Wow.
That's a lot of money for, I think, anyone, but
Yeah.
especially for me. And it was, here I am doing this work, teaching others, leading the way, doing all of it, and still found myself in this situation, which is a phenomenal learning opportunity for me. But you know what happened after that? I found myself in the weeks and months following hoarding all my money because of that trauma. Right? Like every little bit of cash I got, I wanted to keep it in the bank, earning zero interest, which is the least productive thing to do with money. But I was doing all of that, the hoarding from the trauma I had just been through with having $150,000 vanish. So it happens.
Sometimes we vacillate between hoarding money and
Yeah,
then spending,
right.
especially if you've had trauma, that
Yeah,
impulse,
yeah,
impulsive behaviors are more common, and
yeah.
people find themselves having spending addictions, late night on home shopping
Amazon.
and Amazon. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the money's gone because they've overspent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And you probably notice, I mean, I would imagine it's the same with food, right? Like you're sharing about in the middle of the night, just reaching for something. And the other thing is, what's interesting is because of trauma, the very thing that you want so much, you receive, and then you just can't stop yourself from having it. Let it go, just go away, because
you know,
that's, go ahead.
that trauma makes you feel
Yeah.
deserving of it.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
It's a big problem. I think a really big problem in women, and I see that it's a twin problem to the food and body image issue. And I think it has the same origin, which is
Right.
the trauma. So
Yeah.
really happy that you've come on to talk to us about this. Is there any last minute advice you'd like to give, or an opportunity you want to offer people to tell us about working with you and so on?
Yeah, I think just one distinction, and why, why would I want to look at this even further? Because to talk about trauma, it's not like, oh yeah, sign me up. I'm at the front of the line for this work. But why would you want to do it? And for me, there were two things. When I didn't understand that I was trying to create more money in my life and battling the deservingness issues caused from the trauma, what that looked like was I was always trying to prove myself, always trying to prove that I was worthy. Because remember, worthiness means somebody outside of you says, you deserve it, right? It says you're worthy of it. And they agree to validate your assumptions. And that's just exhausting. It really is. When you understand and you do the work to heal the trauma and you step into deserving it, I mean, it really is like you got invited to a whole other party and you're like, whoa, this is how you live, So for me, going into the experience of just not needing any validation outside of myself and actually knowing that it's God and the universe that says, yeah, this is what you deserve and here it is. To me, that brings peace. And I think for everyone, especially those of us who've had traumatic experiences, that feeling of peace and control
is worth everything.
It's worth everything, the money and everything else, but it's worth everything.
And that's what we talk about in terms of food and body image issues. It's about making peace with food and body, because those food obsessions and the behaviors create a lack of peace. They disturb the peace. So it is very much the same. So
absolutely.
And get a hold of you, and how do they find out about your symposium?
So we are doing a 5-day money attraction challenge, and Carolyn, I'll allow you to share your link for all of your listeners to go ahead and enroll. But during this 5-day money attraction challenge, I'll share the other. I told Carolyn I have 13 money traumas. I only shared 3. So I'll share the other 10 on day 3 of the challenge. And you really want to listen in, because it's so intriguing to see some of the ones that you might not have yet identified that are playing out in your financial reality. So I'd love to have you all just come join us for the 5-day money attraction challenge.
That sounds like it could be fun. Do people actually have breakthroughs during the 5-day challenge?
Oh my goodness. We've had people, it'd be so many things to list, but one of my favorite stories was someone who said, I actually didn't believe in myself. And we give you play money all 5 days. So it's really fun. You go from like $800 to spend on yourself, and it's play money. So you literally have to go show us how you spent it, to the last day we give you 8 million. And it's interesting just to watch people go through $8 million. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with it, but that's kind of part of the problem, is if we don't experience ourselves with a lot of money, it's not easy to manifest it. So yeah, we have a lot of fun and a lot of breakthroughs,
Get the 8 million. I'm already having thoughts. Well, thank you again, Tasha Chen, for being with me today. It's really been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in the 5-day challenge.
All right. Thank you for having me.